it's face to face for me still is so important.
Because you could say face to face, right? We're face to face, but we're not in the same country here, right? But to be in person,
I can't have a drink with you or go through.
Not the same feeling.
Yeah. I never really thought of myself as a leader, to be honest. We've got to work with some incredible people that I've definitely learned a huge amount from, and still am learning from them. But yeah, this is all based on relationships, and it comes back down to trust. Yeah. I think that's what's most special about our industry, is that it's so big, but it really is so close, and to have customers that there's a genuine friendship there, and you do a lot for, I think, and we're pretty lucky to have that in our industry, and that's the best thing about what we do.
Yeah, and that's the passion, right? I think everybody's just like, let's look ahead, right? And then let's go in this direction. Welcome to Leadership and Manufacturing Podcast. I'm your host, Sanne Winding, and I'm a strategic leader with over 20 years of experience in B2B marketing, product development, and team empowerment. Today's guest is Sam Cowley. He's the founder of OEMsecrets.com, which is a leading pricing comparison site that supports electronics engineers, manufacturers, and distributors with marketing and development solutions. And with over 14 years of experience, Sam has skillfully managed digital performance, marketing strategies, and also customer relations to drive rep traffic and foster new business partnerships. So Sam, I'm excited you're here. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's the first time I've done one of these, so you'll have to bear with me and we'll see how we go. But no, it's nice to chat to you.
You will be fine. Don't worry. And the secret here, right? I will edit it out, but I just screwed up and I will edit it in and we're good to go. So don't worry. I started screwing up. So everything is going to be fine. So I always love to ask the first question because I love to hear the passion. So it's like, what excites you about the electronics industry?
For me this year, I think the growth that we're expecting to see is exciting for me. The new different manufacturers we can help to support with our products and services, and new conversations and people, and building more relationships. That's what our business has sort of been built on. That's what I'm really excited about. It was a tough 2024, I think, for a lot of us. We've really got to look to see where we can grow a number of order counts up with distributors. Hopefully we can those AOVs up, and I'm excited to see where we can take the year in 2025.
Yeah, and that's the passion, right? I think everybody's just like, let's look ahead, right? And then let's go in this direction. So
I think you've got to, and we've got a lot of work to do to try and help and support more manufacturers, and that's exciting for us to see, whether it's in Europe or globally, and how we can, working with different technologies with different OEMs and CEMs, and we're excited to expand our reach and to support more customers for sure.
That's awesome. So the whole podcast here is about leadership. So I want to ask you a little bit about the leadership, more like your style. So maybe it's not the word leader, but it could be saying, let's talk about how do you communicate? How do you set the strategy, right? How have that changed? So if you look at yourself, how has your way of communicating or working, being efficient, how have that changed over the last couple of years?
I never really thought of myself as a leader, to be honest. We're a small company, so there's 7 of us, but we're, I suppose it comes from within, and the people that we've got working within the business. So I like to say I have a pretty relaxed working lifestyle and how we are as a company, and hopefully that reflects how we are at trade shows as well. But I think the most important thing for me is getting respect from the team, and if we have that and we've got good people working within us, then hopefully that to create a culture that people want to work in, and hopefully attracts more people in the industry to want to try and come and work for us.
Yeah. Have you changed the way you communicate specifically over the last couple of years?
I suppose when we first launched in 2010, I was very hesitant to sort of speak and reach out to the key decision makers externally. That was something that I think with any new business, like that's the entry that most people find difficult. Whereas now it's face to face for me still is so important. So I'll go over to the US to see our customers over there, and we've made that the focus in the last 4 or 5 years. Is obviously COVID caused some problems with how we wanted to go and travel and see customers, but since then it's really kickstarted us to go, right, we need to get back out and seeing customers and partners face to face, and getting some quality time with them, whether that's at trade shows, but ideally just face-to-face visits and out to see them.
I like the word for you.
Out to see you as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually like the word you were saying, quality time, right? Because that's actually where you bond and you create some memories. So it's much easier after to go back and saying, oh, let's pick this up, or let's continue, or let's talk, or let's, hear what we have to offer.
Yeah, the trade shows can be like a 30-minute whirlwind, and you don't really get that time together, do you? So you might have a dinner in the evening, but still
Yeah,
you're a bit distracted with the next day meetings ahead, or whereas if you're going out and you've just got a couple of days with someone, it really does make such a difference to us, whether it's campaign planning or
yeah,
speaking to a manufacturer about an API integration that we're doing on a stock check, or whatever it might be, or an
yeah,
end customer who's looking to use our data and supporting them for purchasing or historical inventory and pricing data, whatever it might be. Getting out and spending some physical quality time with them is probably the best thing that we do, and how we've sort of changed in terms of our communication over the last maybe 4 or 5 years. We've sort of stuck to that.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's good, right? And I think it's so important to be. Is it because you could say face to face, right? We're face to face, but we're not in the same country here, right? But to be
Yeah,
in
I can't have a
person,
drink. I can't have a drink with you or go
no,
through it.
not the
But
same feeling.
yeah, it does really. It is important for me, and
Yeah,
we're prepared to travel to make that happen. And I think
yeah,
that's something that I say to Audrey or the rest of the team is, look, let's
yeah,
make that commitment to go out and see people face to face still. So
yeah.
that's how I prefer to do it.
That is so important. So I want to touch on company culture, and then you just said, right, you like seven people. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you still call it. I do believe you still call it a company culture. But how do you make sure that you have the right dynamic? Everybody is actually leaning in, right? Because by being seven, there's a lot of tasks, there's a lot of roles that needs to be executed.
Yeah, I suppose when people are coming in from a bigger company and joining us, there's a bit of a
Yeah,
shock factor in that you're covering a lot of different areas. So if you're doing marketing, you might be covering some sales bits or doing getting your hand involved in development work, and that's obviously an initial shock. But it's important that everyone in our business knows each
yeah,
side of it, because it's so small and it has to be that way.
yeah,
Um, so, the development team will come out to the trade shows, and it's important that they're going front out facing and seeing, speaking to end customers using the site, or, speaking to distributors and manufacturers that we're working with. They need to really have a good understanding of all sides of the business. And the only way to do that is either get out, speaking to people face to face, or digging in and having
yeah,
calls with them, or going back on emails. So that's a lot of how the business is getting involved in a lot of different areas, and
yeah,
and, and everyone does that. To be fair, we've got a very good, amazing team, but I think a good culture where everyone really wants to work for each other, and I think it has to be that way when it's so small,
yeah,
and that's reflected in from our partners and stuff as well. They can see, we can be, because it's smaller, we can be responsive. And that's really what we pride ourselves on, is providing a sort
yeah,
of that certain level of service, and you only really get that if everyone knows everything across the business, I think.
yeah. So how do you have like stand-up meetings, weekly meetings? How do you make sure that everybody are on the same page?
We meet in the office once a week,
Yeah,
so that's do that on a Thursday, and then we go for everything together in the office. So it could be development, marketing, sales, on the data side, and then anyone else can usually work remote, and we'll usually do morning calls at 8:45 just to catch up on everything as a team. So
yeah,
yeah, just standard teams 8:45 morning calls, meet in the office once a week.
yeah.
Obviously, people go into the office more if they want to, because everyone's sort of close by, within like 30 minutes on the train.
That's
But
good.
they
Yeah,
prefer to work remote, so and I'm
yeah,
fine with that. I want everyone to
yeah,
be happy where they're working. Some people might be in a few days. Yeah, it works well. That's the key, is making sure that everyone works in an environment that they're happy in, whether that's in the office, they prefer to be in the office, or at home.
yeah,
So I think we've got that balance still right. I know it's changing for a lot of different businesses that are
yeah,
maybe looking towards like a minimum 2 or 3 days, but yeah, it just doesn't work for us. I completely trust and wholeheartedly trust the whole team, and know that they'll work probably more efficiently outside of the office sometimes than they would
yeah,
inside the office. So we'll continue to stick to that, but
yeah.
that's how we do it.
How it is. No, I really like that because I think the word, and you just said it, right, is trust.
Yeah,
And then to find out where are you efficient, and if you have to be in person, right, then you will be there, you will figure that out and be there. But to say that you have to be X hours in the office because then we know you will be efficient, right? Or we know as a company, now we're reaching the goal that we set, right? That's not going to align. It's about the team and the empowerment and the trust, and then to find out that environment, how you can actually get there. So
Yeah, I mean,
I like
we'll
your
have
setup.
yeah, I have numerous calls a day on Teams or whatever, and backwards and forwards on chat. But sometimes when we can be in the office, you almost get your head down and get your own work done. Whereas sometimes you
Yeah.
can find it remotely that you'll sometimes speak to each other more remotely than you would when you're physically in the office. It's
Yeah.
weird that, but you just get bogged into your own stuff sometimes. And
Yeah.
yeah, we've only got a small office. It's nice to get everyone in once a week, and then we'll go for some drinks after work or head out
Yeah.
for lunch together, and that's nice. But yeah, we're really lucky. We've got an amazing group, and
Oh, that's good. And I think that's also an advantage, right, for you, because being the size that you are of the company, you can adapt, or you can change, or you can make decisions really fast. So that has to be a competitive edge for you.
Yeah, and we expect a certain level, and the partner expects a certain level of service that we need to uphold, and part of that is responsiveness and being able to turn things around and communicating, as we said at the start. The relationships have still remain the biggest part of our business, and
Yeah.
that hasn't changed since 2010, since we launched. We've got to work with some incredible people that I've definitely learned a huge amount from, and still am learning from them. But yeah, this is all based on relationships, and it comes back down to trust at the end of the day. And if people trust us as a partner and what we can deliver on, then hopefully we'll continue to grow slowly. But as the main thing for us has been able to deliver on that, and I'm hopeful that that's what we're doing. Hopefully.
Oh, it will. So what about mentors? Because sometimes either if it's a person you chat with or have reflection with, right? It can be one inside the industry or maybe outside. Did you have any mentors, when you started in this industry?
Probably our customers, to be honest, because when I first came in, I won't say their names because they'll probably give me a load of grief if I say that they've been in the industry for like 50 years, and some of them have been in for a long time. But when you're working with the likes of Mauser and DigiKeys and Arrows and Avnets, people that have been there and spent a lot of time there,
yeah,
I probably wouldn't tell them that they were mentors because but they probably have been, and without even realizing it. Because when you're 20 and you come into the industry and you're trying to start something, you really need to pick up and learn from these people that have been in the industry for so long. And so our customers and partners have been mentors from the distribution and manufacturing side. There's groups like Women in Electronics. I went out there in California, and you learn a huge amount from Jackie and all the team that's involved with them, from the speakers that they've gone there. That's where I really try to learn from, and speak to our customers and partners as often as I can, and pick up any advice that they can potentially give us, and speaking about market trends, and speak openly about how we see things and how the industry is going to be picking up, and what seems to be slow, and when we can expect change, and all that sort of stuff is all part of, I suppose, me trying to learn and develop a bit more.
No, that's good. And I also think it's the whole mentoring, right? Or how you get your network. It's about asking the question, but it's also about the listening part, right? It's really important.
Yeah, I think so. I sometimes struggle with that because my concentration span is not the best. But when I'm in front of those groups or those types of people, I tend to really try and concentrate, and I've learned a huge amount from a lot of key people that you don't just call just your customers nowadays. It's at a friendship level where you really would do anything for them and go out and see them, and that's I think that's what's most special about our industry, is that it's so big, but it really is so close, and to have customers that there's a genuine friendship there, and you do a lot for, I think, and we're pretty lucky to have that in our industry, and that's the best thing about what we do.
Yeah. Oh, I can only agree. I think it's funny how that it is a big industry, but it's a small network if you look at it, right? We all know each other, and we.
It was when you came on our stand, and Charlotte was on there, and you two knew each other. It's so many people are just connected. It's crazy, and that's that's what's really nice and fulfilling for me, and
Yeah.
I love doing what we're doing because of that.
No, it is. So you just touch on what we said, to listen, right? And actually, that's a skills itself, and that's important. Is there any other skills? We need a lot of skills, but I just wanted to ask you, if there's another skill you want to highlight to say this is a really important when you are in this industry.
Listening, yeah, that was one I certainly struggle with. Other skills that
You don't need to struggle. It can be your superpower if there's another one. It just doesn't need to be a skill that you struggle with. But
I think it goes back to communication again. That's one
yeah,
of the biggest ones for me is both internally and externally. And I think if you get that right, then you should be on a good path to going somewhere. And that's maybe what in the first few years where we struggled a little bit in terms of how we were positioning the business. I don't think we were communicating that well enough. And
yeah,
that's one of the things that I think's we've come a long way doing, but we've still got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, and I again, right? You can say you've been communicating, I'm pretty sure, your whole life, but it's also to be better at it and to follow up with all the technology, right? Because I think right now, if you sit right and you go to work, either it's in your home or in the office, where you get all these messages, right?
It all changes, isn't it? And it's where you can
changes, right? Yeah, and you have to stay focused. But is it what platform are we using, right? Is it the email? Do you open it up? Do you not open it up? Do you unsubscribe because you're getting too much newsletter?
Yeah, that's the other,
There's so much going on. Yeah.
Yeah, the campaigns that we're putting out, it's weighing up all these things. It's like we restrict to like one email a day that goes out at the moment, and so communication in terms of you don't want to overstep it either.
Yeah,
trying to get the balance right, and not setting up too many frequent calls with your customers as well, and saying monthly is probably about right, but you'll still speak to them in between, and whatever. So it's hard to get it right, but sometimes.
It is. Yeah. And I think a couple of years ago, people were saying, "Oh, email is dying," right? I'm like, it's not dying. It's not going away.
We're not seeing that.
Right?
I think it's you just got to try and change the types of content that goes through it, and as long as you're providing relative information that people actually want to see, whether it's MPI stuff or we do a lot of giveaways. Well, that are going to provide some value, then I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, and to be clear, right? To tell what it is you are actually offering at that moment, because is it a webinar, right, that you're driving traffic to? Is it products you're driving traffic to? Is it an NPI? But the more clear you can be when somebody is reading that email or when you communicate, you have to get them at that moment. But you need to have like a whole buffet, right? So you have different options for your audience.
And you'll know from your side as well whether you're using paid social with it and which are the right types of social to use for a campaign. And these are all stuff that we've got a team that work really hard to make sure we get it right. But there's obviously a lot. Video still huge. This is obviously the first podcast that I've done, so this was new to me as well.
It's a new one.
But no, I think there's a vast array of different platforms and channels you can use, and budget can soon go very quickly. And when you're a small company like us, you have to really be protective of that. So I think it's trialing out different channels and platforms with a smaller budget for us has been pretty key. And working with a lot of media partners has provided real value.
It's I think it's an artwork, right? Because you also need to understand, because the world is changing, and to get that attention at that moment, right? Even if it's on a social platform, is it an email? Is it a video? Because YouTube is growing as well, right? You need to make sure that you are there, but in a good way as well.
Yeah, we've had challenges with as a lot have paid search and indexing pages across Google and stuff. And you'll make some changes, and sometimes you've had a load of pages that have been removed, and you're like, well, how? Like there's no way of being able to constantly keep up. So I think it's just making some changes and seeing what works. Yeah.
The good thing is when Google do make a change an algorithm or something, right, or Apple do something, right, it hurts everyone. So
Yeah. Everyone tends to see exactly the same thing,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, you've seen a drop in mixed pages there, but we
yeah,
have to.
yeah. So
Actually, we've seen a pickup, so we'll take that. So we must have made some positive change or some content that we've done, which has seen a nice increase. So hopefully that continues.
yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, but and sometimes with marketing, you have to do some testing, and you won't see it the next day, right? To say, oh, that worked, right? It does take a couple of months before you see actually the impact of it, and then you can scale from there.
Yeah, I mean, we had that with some of our giveaways where we tried some channels with it, and it just they just didn't take to it. Whereas others, are much higher performing in certain different countries, and yeah, I think it's just choosing and trying out
Yeah.
which campaigns work best in which channels to which markets, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn we utilize pretty well in terms of some targeting for front end customers, but again, it can be quite expensive. It's just trialing different things.
It is. And to be creative, right? I think that word is there as well. Being creative can also take you there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's just trying to do something different is the key. If you can be a
Yeah.
little bit innovative with the campaigns that you're running out, then you can't be seen to be following what the rest are doing. That's not going to provide any value to us, and certainly not to customers that we're trying to reach. So
no, but it's how you bring value, right? By doing that and having that approach is what you can give your customers and give them the value. So it's important for you to keep doing it.
We'll try.
Oh, you try. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about if you were, I don't know if you are expanding your team, but when you are, or at a certain point, and when you did, when onboarding, how do you make sure you're onboarding a new person, and then they actually get the best onboarding that you can give them, because it takes time, right? I've been there, and you're like, oh my God, it sucks out so much time, but you also know that when you're done, this person, and you set this person free, right? It's just going to have a huge impact on the company.
Yeah, it takes a huge amount of time for us because it's obviously paramount that we got the right person in to fit within the rest of the team. We've hired postgrads that have come straight out of university, or whether we've had people that have come from some of our partners that we've worked with that have had 8-10 years experience in the industry.
Yeah,
that's probably the most important process for us, is making sure the time's right for them, and so they can see what we've planned out as a business and where we're trying to grow, and you want them being 100% committed to what we're trying to do, and that they're clear on what we do and where we're wanting to grow. But that whole process we found it difficult, but I think time's is the most important thing for me, is putting it in to take the time to find the right person that we think is going to be right for the role, not just putting it out to recruitment companies and getting a load of CVs. We actually do it all direct ourselves at the moment.
nice.
Which
also takes time.
That's what I mean. It does take time, but it's worth it in the past. And some would say, "Oh, well, you're not getting the same pull." And I know there's some amazing recruitment companies out there, especially industry focused, that we could use. A lot of those maybe are more focused in sales roles, if we're looking at digital, or if we're looking at development, that's when it can be a little bit harder to find. But making sure that it's right for both.
Right fit. Yeah. I think I also learned through my career is that even though you go through this, sometimes you do hire the wrong person. And then it's also it happens, right? I'm just
it does happen. But we tried to get as much of the team. You don't want everyone on the interviews either, but you want as much of the team involved to make sure that they're comfortable, because it's not just one of us that hires. We've got 3 or 4 that will probably go through the interview process, but we'll speak to them, and that's important for me to make sure that everyone's happy. It's not just one person's hiring and that's it. That's why it can take a little bit more time, but hopefully they can see, look, the reason why we're doing this is because it's such a small team. We want the balance to be fully right.
Which is important, especially as well when it is a small team, right? You don't want somebody that's like it's not a fit. That's
if you get one that's not on the same wavelength as everyone, or that's not prepared to to work outside of their usual job role if they're not, if they don't want to learn other aspects of the business. It's just not going to work for us because that's what everybody else does. And we're driven to wanting to all get to the same goal, but to do that, we need everyone to muck in and pull in across other sides of the business, and that's quite hard to find. It's out there. People are prepared to do it.
It's the whole mentality there, right? So if somebody new, right, is hiring somewhere, right, what would your advice be to them if they're starting in this industry and coming from the outside of the industry? What advice would you give them?
Speak to as many people within the industry as you can as possible, and get advice. So when we first came in, it was really tough because you're inexperienced, and some people sort of, I wouldn't say back then wanted you to fail, but they were almost, a lot of people know each other in the industry, and for sometimes people expect a certain level of experience, which shouldn't be the case.
No.
So I'd say, speak and reach out to as many people as you can, and actually ask for advice, because a lot of people would try and help you. That would be the first thing. And familiarize yourself with media partners and who the key players are in each industry, and who key people are within each company, whether it's on the distribution side or the manufacturing side. And get to trade shows and events. Probably the biggest. I think that's where you still learn the most. Just going around, whether it's electronica or embedded world, or there's obviously European ones, or EDS in the US. That's where you're going to learn the most. So I'd say, look, you get out there, you're going to speak to some incredibly well-connected people that genuinely want to help you. And I think that's where we're lucky in the industry, that it's got to a place where people do want to do that. And events is probably the biggest side of that, I think.
So the whole networking is important, right? And ask the questions.
I think so. I think it's still probably that's how we helped us to get to where we were. And we did that in the early days. We launched at Electronic in 2010 and went on from there. And our stands, we still create that as a networking space for, whether it's engineers or distributors or manufacturers or whoever it might be. We want just to connect multiple people. And I think if you can find that, then you should be in a good stead, I think.
Agree. Okay, we're almost there, because I have my last question, and that will be. Here it comes.
You might be editing a load of this out, and I hope
No. So if you could go back in time, right? And Sam, if you could give yourself an advice, if you just say 10 years ago, what kind of advice would that be?
10 years ago, probably not be so hesitant to go and reach out to some of the bigger players in the industry. Obviously, it's a domino effect. As soon as you get one of the distributors, so in terms of our side, as soon as a few of the distributors came on, and there was a bit of a hesitancy to contact certain people, I suppose. Whereas now it's just like, no, you need to just reach out to them, get a meeting set up face to face. And that can be a bit daunting, I suppose, when you first come into the industry. But it's just trying to get in front of people and not being as hesitant to reach out and be scared to approach key decision makers, I suppose.
Just ask, right? Be bold. But it's easy to say. But if you
want to help, and if you've got a product that people genuinely believe in, then it'll go from there. So I think that's one of the biggest things for us. For me, at least, anyway.
So thank you, Sam. I had a blast here, because I know we've been networking, maybe with a beer in the hand, but
that's the way it usually is. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully it's gone all right, and now I'm looking forward to supporting the podcast and helping you to promote it and get the subscriber counts up. Maybe not off the back of my podcast, but other proper leaders that you get on will be able to help you.
You will be awesome. And I'm so happy about our partnership. So thank you so much for that one.
Oh, you're welcome. We're more than happy to support it. It's it means a lot to us, and we're excited about where we can take it this year.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership in Manufacturing podcast. I love that you're listening. Please find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and be sure to subscribe and rate us. Also, follow our LinkedIn page and Instagram and check out leadershipinmanufacturing.com for previous episodes, blog posts, and our newsletter. So let's continue this journey together to become better leaders in the electronics industry. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.